Hey guys, how are you today?
Hey guys, how's it going? Happy Wednesday.
So we started today. We thought about something. Last week we brought over and we were introducing people that were talking on life insurance, and then they were also talking about insurance with the coverage and stuff. But today we wanted to bring to you a podcast regarding a situation that people how to avoid a situation later on in life, with properties and stuff, and it's called probate. A lot of people think that probate is very easy. It's not. It could be very lengthy in time, and we'd like to kind of help y'all understand because we as wholesalers, we're always getting properties that are under probate or they haven't been probated, but one person cannot agree. And anybody that deals with probate a lot is going to be Andrea. Because I'm more in on okay, Andrea done did the work, it's clean, I'll buy it if it's for me or anybody else. Me, when it's probate, if it's that lengthy, I got to keep moving, so it's like I don't have time to wait, but Andrea can help you with that.
Yeah, for sure. And I do get a lot of people sometimes that reach out to me because they do have like a probate deal and they don't know how to go about it. But not only just like, this episode is not just for wholesalers. It's mainly for like also people that may be going through the situation, because that's what we go through. I have certain people that are like, sellers that I talk to, and they're like, well, they're thinking that. Sorry, guys, give me a second.
We're busy ladies.
Yeah.
We're still busy, we're still working.
I know.
We're still working, so if you hear our phones go off, or my phone might die shortly, I'm sorry, but anything that happens, or you see us looking all around, we got 5 cameras, we got phones going, and we're still working as we're doing it. So go ahead.
So yeah, like I was saying, I deal with a lot of sellers that sometimes, they're thinking, hey, my loved one or something passed away. They're thinking like the only way they can do the probate is if they hire an attorney. I mean, yeah, that is a way to do it, but they don't realize, like I told them, we can do it for free for them. And not only do we do that, we actually like help them, like, hey, who needs to sign? We work with an investigator, so we also help them, like, hey, I have a sister that I haven't heard of, or able to get in touch with. I mean, a lot of these probate deals we deal with, it's like a sister's in drugs, or you got to find her in the corner somewhere, which I have no problem going to go look. I mean, there's been times where we go and like, hey, you got to exchange something, some money, for them to sign. But I mean, there's different situations, different scenarios with different people. But what we like to do is like, we want to kind of share some knowledge. Like I said, it's not just for wholesalers, but it's maybe somebody that you may know that somebody passed away, but they don't know how to go about what happens next. So we kind of want to, that's what we want to go over with. Same thing with wholesalers, kind of deal with probates, but they definitely can be a headache. And but yeah.
Yeah. And there's another thing too. You see a lot of houses, like for instance, us, if we owe taxes of 2, 3, 4, 5,000, they're ready to stick it into an auction. And there's houses out there that you'll see that they'll owe like 40, 50, even $80,000. And you're like, why in the hell don't they go after them? Legally, they have to notify somebody, and who do they find?
Yeah.
So they have to notify somebody, and usually they can't. So they sit there and sit there and sit there because they haven't been notified. I think up to a certain extent. And then I've seen some of those go through the foreclosure part, but most of the houses that hit foreclosure are because they're in probate. And that's because nobody wants to pay the taxes. Nobody wants to keep up with the property. So it just goes up in the air. Andrea and I were talking earlier, and we were talking about, for instance, when I was younger, my grandmother used to always say, "Oh, mija, when I die, everything is yours." Okay. And then they get mad at me. Ay, mijo, when I die, everything is yours. So it's like those are just things that you can create, an unstable situation, because when, let's say, if my grandma were to ever pass, hope no, 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 but let's just say the day comes, what's going to happen is so and so is going to come up and say, well, she said it was mine, and then this was going to say, well, she said it was mine, but they forgot that she has a child in the middle. We're just a grandchild. So
Mhm.
it was going to go down to my mother, and then it would go trickle down from there, because anytime you're dealing with probate, it's like a family tree. The root are the parents, and
Right.
then you have the kid, and then the kid can have a kid,
Mhm.
and it just goes from there. By the time you know it, you have a web, and
Yes, and it's always like that.
you need a signature from everybody that is involved in that web.
Yeah.
And
And you do, guys, because this happened before where we actually sold a property to another investor, and we had the lady fill out an affidavit. And when she filled out the affidavit, it's her to put everybody in there, that's part of the sale of the home. And well, when we took it to title, they did their underwriting, everything looked good. And I mean, we closed on it, we funded. Well, somebody came back from her family and sued the guy who bought the property.
mhm,
So it can get messy. So you got to be very, very careful, when you're doing those probate and those affidavits, to kind of make sure that there's nobody else involved. Also have like the affidavit, like whoever's filling out the affidavit, they kind of like say, hey, if something happens, you're going to be fully responsible, because you want to make sure, because they came back and sued us as well, but it really wasn't our fault because we took it to the title company. So you guys have to be careful with that too, because some people can leave family members out, and then those people can come back and they can definitely take possession of the property. So, and then you're going to find yourself in a lawsuit, and that takes a long time. So there you are, you got your money stuck in a property that you can't do anything to. So you got to be careful whenever you're doing the probate. Make sure that you also do your due diligence, and have the title company make sure that they also do their due diligence, but they can only do so much.
mhm,
So I mean, things happen. I know that happens. So, and then too, like whenever you guys are writing, like for example, I know certain people are like, oh well, my mom, said was gonna leave this to me,
mhm,
or we talked about it. If it's not in paper on a will,
yeah,
it's not gonna work like that. It's gonna go to, if it's like if it's gonna go to my kids,
mhm,
and it's gonna go to all four of them. So I can't be like, oh yeah, I'm gonna leave it just to one kid. If there's
mhm,
nothing on paper, and if you like don't have a will, then there's nothing you can do. And I've had situations where people are like, no, don't want to sign because they don't want to share their money
mhm.
with sorry guys, they don't want to share their money with their siblings. So
Stephanie,
um yeah, they don't want to share their money with
mm,
their siblings, so it
on
gets a
that
little
one.
bit crazy.
Oh, okay.
So and then you kind of have to figure out what to do there as well. So it can get definitely a little bit difficult, but it's a very interesting topic, because I've seen people lose money doing probates. I've seen people like, even like sellers, they think like, oh, this so and so person needs to be there. So I've been able to help them out with that, because
Yeah.
we have a private investigator, so they actually kind of investigate everything to see who's actually all the siblings that were involved. So whenever you're doing with probate, just be very careful, because you can get yourself into some deep trouble there.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So that's one of the things. And then, in probate, like we talked about last month or last week, sorry, about, the life insurance and stuff like that. There is no better insurance than a will. You need to
Hmm.
know who's going to go to who, because of the fact that you're doing all this whole legacy and da da da, and I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. And it is not the most comfortable situation to talk about when things happen,
Yeah.
I mean, Hispanics are the worst. We're the worst. We we're the worst when we say no. Well, I'm gonna leave it for the Sancho. I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna do that. It's not even that, or the Sancha. It's not even that. It's the fact that I've worked hard in my life, and if you don't want to leave it for the Sancha, then you're gonna say, I want this to go to my kids.
Hmm.
Literally, you're gonna say, you, and you, and it doesn't matter, because in a matrimony, in a marriage, 50% of my husband's asset is mine, and 50%, it's 50-50 pretty much. But if he were to pass, 50%, that 50% doesn't go straight to me if there's no will. It goes, you know, it's split up pretty much, and we're like, wow, I didn't know that. But it's not like I take 100% control of everything. People are like, no, you got it wrong. No, you got it wrong. Because we just figured that out recently. So, you don't want no, some of us have that family member or that, that child that is not in the right place and will go and do something intentionally wrong. Oh, I'm just going to donate all my part, or I'm just going to fight it and let it just fucking sit there. Oop, I did a bloop. But anyway, just let it sit there. And it's the truth, and then you have all the other family members like, okay, but who's going to pay the taxes? Oh, y'all pay the taxes. And they don't want to sign. There's ways to get around those things that one family member you can out or whatever. But what we're saying is you want to avoid all those problems because it causes a big issue in the family later on in life. You made a beautiful family, you had a beautiful family, and it can all ruin, at the moment of death. Everything just falls apart. So, wills are very important, and they can always be changed. They can always be changed. And, when you go to the hospital, people like, oh, no, I don't want an advance directive. You better hurry up and do so. You want to hurry up and do so because everything gets pretty much locked up when you pass. If there's no power of attorneys, if there's no advance directives, if there's nothing on file, you need to make sure all those things are in your favor. So to avoid problems, do that.
Right. And another thing, like, people may not know is that if you're dating somebody and it's just a girlfriend, you got kids and your girlfriend, it doesn't matter if you guys are off and on. If you're dating her over 2 years, that's common law marriage.
Yep.
So guess what happens? You die, and guess who the money's gonna go to? It's gonna go to her, and they have to split the money with her. And you never know what's gonna happen. So just be very careful, like, especially like guys. I know guys are very special. They fall in love and the girl they're just dating, but not knowing that if it's after 2 years, whatever is yours is now going to be hers. And we've dealt with situations like that where, the dad or the husband passes away, but he had a girlfriend, and now the girlfriend's in the picture, and they know, I think they know because they get attorneys and they're like, oh yeah, well, she has common law. And I didn't even know that was a thing because I went through a deal like that. So it's like, hey, now I have to, let the other people know and the kids know, hey, you guys are gonna have to split this with your stepmom. And they're like, heck no. So the dad didn't even know that happened, that was gonna happen. So it's very good that you guys definitely educate yourself on that, because if you got a lot of money and you're dating a girl and you've dated her more than 2 years, if something happens to you, she's going to keep all of that. So, be very careful with that, and then make sure you guys always have a will for that. Because if not, then, you're thinking, hey, I die, my money's going to go to my kids. It's not. It's going to Sancha. So,
and then there's legally separated. When you're married, legally separated, you're with this other female, all in love or whatever, and then y'all want to go buy another house, and guess what? Your wife has to sign.
Yeah,
that's the funny one. What is it? You have a question?
They said, did you mention that there is a form that you can provide to the seller for them to sign to protect us from ever being sued as a wholesaler?
Who's that?
Daniel Kristen Stevens. Oh, Kristen.
Well, Daniel?
It's Kristen Stevens.
Kristen. Thank you, Kristen. I really didn't know about that. And this is why we're on here, to network with everybody. I'm going to look into that and maybe even talk about that, because that's important. Did you know about that?
Yeah. So there's a form that you can actually have your own forms, you can get it notarized with her, because
Mhm.
even on the when you're filling out the affidavit form, it does say on the affidavit, but that's for the title company. You
Mhm.
got to do one for yourself personally, and you can actually come up with the words that you want. I
Mhm.
came up with mine just saying that we are not responsible if anything comes up, like saying just to kind of protect ourselves because it's happened to us before. So if something happens or somebody comes and claims back something, they're fully responsible. And I just get it notarized by a notary, and she signs, I sign. So that way you just want to make sure that you let them know, hey, I'm just doing this to protect myself because
Mhm.
it's happened to me in the past. And if they're lying, they're not gonna want to sign it. If
Right.
they're not lying, they'll be more than happy to sign it. So you guys can actually, have forms on your own and just get them notarized.
Mhm.
That's it's pretty valid, something that, hey, I'm not responsible for this or that. So I kind of learn to be my own attorney. But I do ask, but you could, a
Yeah.
contract you can add, kind of you add on special provisions and things
Mhm.
like that. So you can add things like that on the special provisions and stuff like that to protect you.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so that it's really important just to kind of really secure yourself. It can be maybe you don't even have a house with somebody, you have a business, anything you may have, they're your actual assets, and you want to protect everything, even your car.
Mm-hmm.
Everything, because everything is something that you worked for, and if it belongs to you, then it's yours. And this is what I usually say, but not everybody thinks the same way. If you have to fight for it, it really wasn't yours.
Yeah.
But there's people at the end of the day, they're gonna fight, 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 and money will always make everyone act funny.
Oh yeah,
Mm-hmm.
for sure.
Oh yeah.
And then also too, like, if you guys know if like anybody going through a scenario, something similar, like, hey, I have a cousin or a friend, and they don't know what direction to go to, they can definitely reach out to us, so we can kind of guide them. I always like to always tell them, like, listen to their situation, because like I said, every scenario is different. I don't have the answers to everything, but
Mhm.
like I need to know their situation to see how we're able to help them, because I mean, there's times where it gets very like, there's been times where there's step kids involved.
Yeah.
So like they got married to a wife, and I mean, well, obviously to a wife. They got married to a woman with kids.
Mhm.
So now the husband passed away, and then the mom passed away. So now it goes to the step kids. But if that person had a sibling, then it's like now the sibling has to fight with the step kids.
Mhm.
So it gets very, very complicated.
Yeah.
But that's why it's very important to keep a will, because even the step kids can get the will.
Yeah.
And that's not even their blood, but because he married the woman who had the kids. So it kind of goes, if he's the one, well, him, and then he dies, then it goes to the wife. Well, the wife died, then it goes to those kids.
Mhm.
But then also if he has a sibling, like it kind of gets a little bit crazy. But so if you guys ever know anybody that you're like, hey, this person
Question.
doesn't know what to do, send them our way. We will be more than happy to do a free consultation, to kind of see if we're even able to do anything, and yeah, see if we can be able to help.
What's the question?
JD Delgado says, good info. Have either of you been taken to court for filing a memorandum on a property, and how did that play out?
Actually, my son's going through that right now. He was actually going to buy a property for himself. And the realtor, I'm having a lot of issues with realtors wholesaling. And it's
That's next topic.
that's next topic where all the realtors are going to hate me, God. I like my realtors. But this particular realtor, my son got the house under contract, and it was an owner finance deal, and it was in the Heights. So what ended up happening was the realtor was planning on wholesaling it, but my son, as soon as he put down the money, he gave a memorandum. I mean, he filed a memorandum, but the realtor tried to sell it behind my son's back, of course, to a cash buyer, but it was already set in stone that the gentleman had said that he was going to owner finance because he didn't want to have to get all these, whatever gains or whatever.
Capital gains.
Yeah, capital gains. So he felt his money being long term, it would be better for him. So, oh, and he had like Medicare. or something. So if he would have got it all,
Oh yeah, because you sell a house.
you
and
sell a house,
They take your Medicare.
they take your Medicare. So he
Oh,
felt
that's
that.
what my mom won't sell.
Yeah. You're like,
She's
Mom.
"No."
Yeah. So what happened with that is it's going to court. It hasn't really played itself out just yet, but I'll keep you posted, JD. Thanks for that question. But memorandums do
We're
stand.
actually going through one right now ourselves.
Okay, we'll share.
With Connor.
Oh shit, we're going through one. I forgot. I forgot. Yeah, we're going through a memorandum right now. Actually, she sold me the property, and then while I was there inspecting the property, a buyer walked up, and it's right there off of what is it, Maine?
Maine.
It's right
Maine
there.
And Airline.
Maine and Airline. So on Airline,
The Heights.
there's a restaurant which is the one,
I don't know.
whatever it is.
Teotihuacan.
Teotihuacan. That place. But anyway, so they came up and then they were like, hey, well, you know what? We really need it for the parking, da 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 da. And I said, you know what? Y'all growing in the community. You know what? I'll go ahead and I'll just go ahead and let you take over my assignment, but y'all are gonna have to pay Andrea, which was the $375, and it's in there. And then the guy went after we were gonna do the contract and get everything done. The guy went to the owner and offered the owner to buy it from him cash. I'm still a cash buyer, and Andrea is the person I got to go through. I can't cut her throat. When you cut your wholesaler's throat, your name goes everywhere and you're not going to work. And my job is, for what we do, is to find properties at good prices. And that's going to be the wholesalers, because I save myself a lot of time. Andrea has a full operation, investigators, callers, lead finders, her podio. She has a whole system. So I have to respect her work. And then, you have other people that just want to cut throats. You can't do that. And that's not my intention. So basically, we filed the memorandum. Andrea filed her memorandum. I couldn't go behind her back. And they shouldn't go behind her back. Well, these people did. And the guy cannot sell to anyone else. No. So what happened is they called an attorney and he started bullying us and all that. Well, it would be different if the guy said, you know what, Andrea, just give me a little bit more. I'd walk out. I'd be like, go ahead, girl. The thing is that he's selling it, and the title company called us within 3-4 days?
Yeah. And then now he was saying that I forged the signature. Yeah,
now they're saying she forged the signature. It's a whole mess, but that's why, you always get a copy of their ID, their social, and I record everything. You have to record those things, whether it's in person or even in conversation. There's a system in your phone. It's called Rev Dialer, REV. And look it up, download it, because sometimes I use it on my husband. Look, motherfucker, this is what you said. This is what you said. You have to. And it's called Rev Dialer, and you want that. So when you're talking to somebody and it's an important conversation, especially when you're negotiating, you may have been behind on your mortgage and you're trying to, get a payment plan, and then you're sending a payment plan, then you get a notice that, you're being foreclosed on. You're like, no, wait a minute. I talked to so-and-so, because agents are numbers. And if you write one number wrong or one name wrong, it negates the whole fact. So Rev Dialer is something a lot of people need to do. So when you're making those kind of agreements and contract, you have that and you just tip and play it. Who forged, So that's one of the things. So we're going through that right now. And
we're actually going to get paid.
Yeah, we're going to get paid. The guy did decide to settle, and we're hoping everything goes away. He lied.
I didn't.
Poor guy.
I told him, I was like, go look at the cameras.
Yeah, right. The cameras. Yeah. And it's okay. It was a shisty, shady thing that restaurant did. But guess what? It's okay. And my whole intention for him, like I told him, is I'm a business owner, and there's times that I need certain, houses, or they're just in my way and I need to buy them. And if they sold it to somebody else, it would suck, because it's like having a cavity in a tooth. So I understood, and I was like, okay, well, let's just do the contract and you can buy Andrea out. And we even negotiated it, I think, to $370. But anyway, they try to go behind our back, so they're shady.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. On paper.
Yeah, for
On paper.
Sure.
Yeah, and that's a
Definitely
waste of
agree.
time. That's a waste of time because when she has to go look for a property, she has to go find the people, do all her due
And
diligence,
I had to go
whatever.
inside this house. This
It
house,
was bad.
man, it was
Bad.
so bad.
Rat crap
There's
everywhere.
poop on the floor. The guy has stuff.
Boxes up to the wall.
I had to sit there and negotiate through all of that.
And then I went in. Andrea's like, "You want to see it?" I was like,
I'll wait for you outside.
I'll wait for you
at my chair.
outside. I already know what I'm gonna do, Andrea. And then I went inside. I didn't want her to go in alone. I was like, "Oh, yeah, it was bad. I'm cringing right now. It was really bad. Poor guy. I just don't understand how he's living in those conditions, but it happens, you know." And so his best bet was to sell it and move on. He has plenty of properties, but it was best for him to move on. So that's a memorandum. I forgot we had one, but yeah. So I'll let you know how that goes with my son JD, and then we're actually supposed to get paid on ours.
Yeah.
They did respect the memorandum, so there's a good one. We just hope that the other one does respect the memorandum, and we're going to find out what happens because they did try to file suit on my son. And this one threatened to file suit, but then, negotiated because memorandums, some people say they don't hold water. They pretty much do.
Well, we're getting paid $20,000, so there you go.
So there you go.
There goes. There's some water there.
There's some water. Take a drink of that.
Yeah. So, but I mean, yeah, I know. We know definitely not every memo is going to be like that.
Yeah.
But in this situation was because our spread was pretty high, so it was like, hey,
yeah,
give us what we're looking for. So they did.
They did. Okay. Yeah. See, I let her handle that one because I'm more like, okay.
I'm like,
And it's usually as you get older, you just kind of dismiss a lot of people and a lot of things. You're just like, man, there's more coming. And that's how I am now. It's just, I'm not going to mess with it. But Andrea has my old energy. So that's how we vibe. She has my old energy. So we go at
hey,
that.
what she's not fighting for, I'm back there like,
Tooth and nail. Tooth and nail. Was there another question? Thank you, JD. Okay. All right. Sounds great. Thank you. Thank you guys for really interacting. Go ahead. What's your question?
What is really the definition of probate, or is there multiple definitions of probate? Because you hear from one person, then multiple persons.
Probate is kind of like the word yes. Yes is yes, and no is no. Probate is probate. Probate means, y'all can't agree, and they usually put somebody in place to make the decision, right?
Well, yes, mainly too, what probate means is somebody passed away without a will. So whenever somebody passed away, there's no will, they have to probate the will, meaning they have to make sure that whoever, so there weren't a will specifically to somebody. So now what the probate happens is okay, who are the kids? Did a kid pass away? So okay, that's gonna go to their kids. So they have to kind of put all of that. And once they probate the will, that means they got everything settled in. They know who's who. They know who's gonna get what. So that's basically what probate means. Somebody passed away without a will, and they're probating the will. They're getting everybody together, meaning okay, what kids are gonna get paid.
It could take long sometimes.
Yeah, it gets a little bit tricky because there's times where if you have siblings and then there's only 2 siblings that are alive, and then the other kids had kids. So some goes to siblings and then it goes to their kids. But wait, if those kids have kids, then that goes to them as well. So it's kind of it can get a little messy. Yeah. It's like a family tree. It just goes down so it's better to have a will because that way you get to say for example, if you have the dad passes away and there's 4 sisters and then 2 sisters died, then the 2 other sisters have to share their money with their other 2 sisters' kids. So then it all gets split into, and then they're like, well, shit, we didn't get nothing. Yeah. So that becomes where people fight. Yeah. Because those sisters feel well, why the heck are her kids getting money if, that's supposed to go to us? But that's just the way it works. That's the way probate works. So it can get real ugly. It can definitely get real ugly. And then people don't want to sign because they're like, hell no, I want more.
Or someone's in jail.
Yeah. Oh, and if someone's in jail, you can actually go to the jail and get them to sign. But of course, it got to be.
And depending on what their crime was, their crime level.
Yeah, and I've actually done that.
Mhm.
Well, I went to the
Mhm.
jail because you're like, hey, I'm trying to get all the pieces together.
Mhm.
But you kind of have to take it to that extent where you're like really looking for these people,
Yeah.
and because those probate deals are always the juicier ones,
Mhm.
but they do take a long time.
Yeah.
But once you get them done, then it's good. You
Yeah.
know.
What was your question, Stephanie?
Oh, so like my grandpa, he passed away when I was 10.
Mhm.
His sisters, he had two sisters and one brother.
Mhm.
They have his house and all of his possessions because they told the city that my mom and my tia, he didn't have any kids.
Mhm.
So your mom and your tia can go back and
Yeah, they
actually
can go
get his
back.
possessions.
Mhm. Yeah.
They
So they
can.
can. I'll talk to your mom about it.
Especially your mom,
Yeah.
because she's next. Like it really all goes
Yeah.
to her,
Mhm.
and she can take possession of
Because she's
whatever.
the oldest, right? Your mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. I'll help her with that if she needs it, or get Andrea. It doesn't matter how.
Yeah. If you guys have any question, you can definitely reach out to see
Yeah.
on
Yeah.
that. But yeah, I mean, and just like she was asking, like, hey, her grandpa passed away and they took all his possessions, an uncle did,
Mhm.
and they can't do that. They
No.
can't do that. And I've seen that happen before. So, that's why we like to help these sellers out to kind of figure out like, hey, what's really going on.
Mhm.
And it's happened where people get really upset. I mean, they really are like, who the heck are you?
Mhm.
But people don't know, that they're like, oh, I didn't even know I could actually get possession of the house,
Yeah.
or if they sold the house without their permission, they
Mhm.
think like, oh, I missed out on it. They actually can go and claim that house if they want to. They have all the rights to do that.
Yeah.
So don't feel stuck out. If you guys have any questions, like if you feel like someone's going through that same scenario, reach out. Like like I said, we do free consultations, just to kind of see where the scenario's at and see if we are able to help.
Yeah. Another thing is when we're all busy, and I glorify my mom for taking care of my grandma. My grandma suffers from dementia. But one of the things is a lot of people don't have that time or patience. So they put their family members into the retirement homes or the assistant livings or whatever. Those places sometimes can take over, do a power of attorney, they go to court, they take over, and then they're the ones that start selling off assets. If I can give anyone homework, if you watch a movie called I Care, just the I and Care, it's based on pretty much a reiterated true story of two females that were taking family members to court, taking over custody.
Oh, you know what? I think I watched that movie.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
And then didn't they take over, like it was a dope dealer's mom or something?
Yes,
And then
yes,
it was
girl, the little
like-
mini man.
Yeah, the little mini man.
Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you what, they took over a dope dealer's family member, and they were some tough chicks. It's a really interesting movie. I'm sure a lot of things were put in and put out, but it's very close to what some of the
What
truth is
happens,
and
yeah.
what happens.
Yeah.
So it's called I Care. And what happens with that, like my mom, she does give up her time and everything to stay home, and work. And it's hell to stay home and watch kids and, adults or whatever. That's a job, So a lot of us take that like, oh, that, she just stayed home and watched them. It's a job. We could barely care for ourselves. We were talking about trying to make time just to go get our hair trimmed. It's like, we go through things. It's so when you're having to care for another adult that can do and think for themselves and don't listen when you tell them something, they go on the opposite side of the freeway, and but kids, they tend to listen, adults don't. So so like I said, you want to make sure that if you really go into some having to put your family member into those kind of cares, that you read everything, and I mean everything, because it can bite you in the ass.
Oh yeah, for sure,
Mhm.
for sure. Yeah, because I've heard of that happen.
Mhm.
Where people take possessions. They're elderly people. They don't even know what they're signing.
Yeah.
They sign over the power of attorney, and then next, they're the ones that are responsible for the house.
Yeah.
They can sell it, and then they sell it, and like the people don't even remember that they even had a house.
Yeah.
So, it's definitely, very, very scary sometimes for that.
Mhm. Yeah, so that's one of the main things. So most of that, guys, is probate. Now we're going to kind of hit real quick on foreclosure. And Foreclosure is usually one of many things. Some people can file a lien against you, go to court, have a judgment. There's a website where you can always check to make sure you don't have liens and things like that, because you don't know anybody. I could pinch her and she files a claim on me, you know?
Good idea.
You know, so I always stay on track
Don't
with
get-
that.
don't give
No,
me
I'm not
ideas,
gonna get
girl.
girl. She's a negotiator.
I took an idea and I run with it.
Yeah, but that's one of the things. So you always want to make sure you don't have anything on you, even a medical bill, you know, because
Mhm.
those things attach to your home. You'll be sad when you go to sell your house and oh, my thing cut off. You'll be sad when you go to sell your house and then is it live? Just fix it.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm live over there.
Okay.
Okay. Can you see me there?
On my phone, I was watching your live.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, it says your live lost video signal.
Uh,
Let me see.
we're not perfect at this, guys. We're just going as we go.
There we go. There we go.
Okay. Yeah. So, like we were saying, like on on foreclosures, and goes the other way. Yeah. So on foreclosures, you know, you can have liens and judgments about anything, and somebody's suing. Usually, they say they can't take your house. There's certain ways of going around things, but you know, it's really sad when some people go to sell their house, and then when they go sell their house, they see all these liens, and they're like, "Well, you have all these liens," and we're like, "What?" And it can even, oh my God, for landlords, you can have a reliant lien, meaning you had a tenant living there, or even water. You had a tenant living there, and some of them, they still light, they rig up the lights, and some of them, they rig up the water, or they get a big ass water bill, $700, $800, $900, and then they don't pay it. So they tack a lien on the owner's name. And you have to prove that it was not your bill by providing the tenant's information. And if it was back in 2002, and I'm telling you, because my son bought a property and the owner expected so much, but the water company took a certain amount. Hold on, I have a question.
Your live is showing that it's sewer versus the other side. Of the
Oops, sorry.
But it's showing us here, no?
Right here.
No.
No, is it?
It's still showing me the other side of the camera.
Because this.
Well, let's see. How about now?
Oh, okay, now it's gone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think it was because it takes a while to download. No, I think it goes this way.
Oh, okay. I was like, what? Okay. I was like, I see me. Yeah, so that happens. So you can get liens tacked onto you by your old tenants, past situations, all that. In my leases, I put a lot of stipulations in there, especially like if they have a dog, they're not supposed to have a dog. And you know, I understand that if my dog bites somebody, I take full responsibility. Da, da, da. And they'll find loopholes, everything. But you have to at least have one line of defense, some type of defense. But in foreclosure, my experience in foreclosure, when I was first starting off buying properties, we would go to the auctions and try to buy properties. And yeah, we would get some cheap. Right now, to me, the auction is very overrated. Where are you at with that?
With the auction? Oh,
Mhm.
yeah. Well, I never go buy at the auction just because you never know what kind of mess you're going to buy.
And that's true.
And because
Mhm.
certain things, like sometimes you can like look up things like any liens, but they don't
Mhm.
always come up.
No.
And it's like, oh, until you take like fully possession, like, oh, hey, by the
Mhm.
way, this actually came up.
Yeah.
So I never even bought a house in the auction.
No.
I actually just went to the auction to look for buyers there. But that was it. But never actually bought an auction. I mean, a property from auction, because you just, you
Yeah.
can't go inside. You can't do anything. You don't know
Mm-mm.
what it looks like.
No.
It's kind of like buying sight unseen. So,
Mhm.
and you don't know what what also like any liens or anything that has in that property.
Right.
So I don't really go to the auctions. But I know a lot of people do.
Yeah, because that's where I started off. I started off at the auctions, and you know, we ran into different things.
Mhm.
You know, after the fact, somebody popped up because there's times that they do sell a property at the auction, and not everyone was was notified.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happens is that person claims the property. So your money stays on hold. And I'm telling you because this happened to me with my property off of East Tex.
Mm-hmm.
And it's my store. And so what happened was they had to hold on to $56,000 of mine. And it was just for not even 3,000 square feet, that one piece to make my lot. And so what ended up happening is, they kept that money. We're like, oh, until we decide what we're going to agree on. What? Like, no, y'all made a mistake, pay me back. It doesn't work that way.
Right.
So it gives them time to prove, me time to prove ways, and the city to prove that they did everything. So you've got 3 people involved and you have to wait. We ended up taking possession of the property. We had to pay a little bit more to the owner, but it was like, whatever, just give it to me. That's when you feel like you've been taken because, you feel strapped, like, damn. And when you buy a property with an intention to go right in and fix it. And you can't always do that with
Not if
those.
you buy it at
At
an auction.
auction.
You gotta wait because what happens is auction when you buy a property, and I'm sure that people that buy it, they already know this, but when you buy it, they still they give the seller time to pay for whatever it is that they're behind on, and I believe they give them what, like 6 weeks,
6 months. Yeah, 3 to 6 months, I think now.
Yeah, but the good thing is if you did like put anything on the house and they'll pay you for that.
Yeah.
So they'll pay you 20%, I think, over as well.
Yeah.
So that is good. But it kind of sucks because you have to have your money sitting for at least 6 months.
Yeah. And you're not in the business to be a contractor. You're in the business to be an investor, and you're not, you can go and get a contract and do that, but
and the same thing like with pre-foreclosures. I know a lot of people, with the whole pandemic stuff, they were like not making the mortgage payment. A lot of that, like, people didn't even realize that. They were thinking, oh, they're just gonna forgive me. The bank is never gonna forgive you for your payments. And they were like, okay, we'll give you 3 months of forbearance. And then it's like, but then whenever that time comes, you got to come up with the money for the 3 months. So it's like the longer you let it, like, like, okay, I'll go 4 months. Like, oh yeah, I didn't pay I made some money. Like, no, they're going to get that money back. And that's definitely a way to lose your home.
Right.
And I know people, like some banks were adding it on the escrow or adding it to the balance.
Yeah.
The reason I found this out was because whenever I had a guy who I bought a property and he did a forbearance, whenever we got the payoff was so much higher than what he thought it was. And he was like, but wait a minute, like, why is this so much higher?
Yeah.
And then he did the math with the payments. Well, they added 2 extra payments on there because they were saying like that was like some kind of a, hey, it's kind of like we let you borrow the money and then now we're getting our interest back. And they didn't even tell him that. Yeah. So he was so upset. But what do you do now? Like, you got to sell. So you guys got to be very careful, whenever you guys are not, I know a lot of people did that. They were like, yeah, take the opportunity if the bank is letting you, not make the payment. Trust me, there's a catch. There's always a catch. I never did it because I was like, no, there's if you have some money, just make the payment because it's gonna come back and bite you back in the butt. So be very careful with that. I don't know if people out there, did that. If you did, you need to really look into like what does that look like when you sell your house, what you're gonna actually pay, because they're adding extra fees on that. So just be careful with that.
Yeah, but on the turn side, I've had maybe 2 good foreclosures, just 2. But one was a rental property, maybe 3 or 4 units. Some of those are kind of worth waiting because you got to do plans and stuff like that. So just in case it turns out to be a good one, you're in a good position. So yeah, I have a friend that always calls me and he's like, I saw a house over here and it's yours. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. What are you gonna do with it? It's just sitting there. I said, I don't know. I got to go look at it.
Everywhere all the time.
Let me go look at it. So then I go look at it. I'm like, okay, let me see. I'm like, okay. And some of them are just houses that I just bought because they were real good deals. Back in the day, there was some good deals. I bought houses back then, like 18,000. 18,000. And it's always cheaper to go to a wholesaler or just a finder than to go through a realtor, sane but not sane. There's two ways of doing it. Usually when you go through a realtor, they have it ready to go at market, and you can
Yeah.
negotiate. You can negotiate on your behalf. So that's one thing. Everything's ready to close. Sometimes you go with the wholesaler and it's just some they're ready and some it's a waiting process. And you can also get into a pickle with realtors when they sell a property, and they go through everything and somebody can always come back and claim.
Right.
It just happens. I just got a property that I'm working with the lady on. She has to make a claim against the realtor because she sold her the property and it said that the property you could build, there's no restrictions. You could build, you can have trailers, mobile homes. So this lady paid for the property in
There was
Conroe.
no restrictions.
There was no restrictions.
Yeah.
And now she went and bought 2 mobile homes to put them on both her lots. And now they're telling her she can't. So she's paying storage fee for the mobile homes and she's just sitting there.
Dude,
So
that's a motivated seller right there.
yeah,
Let
there
me
you
call her.
go.
Let me-
There you
Hey, what do you do
go.
with those mobile homes?
Let me
just
tell
kidding.
you. Okay, we'll work on that. No, but so then I told her, I said, look, well, if they want you to construct, we can get you the construction loan and go from there. But her plan was totally different. She has beauty spas and stuff, so that's what she wants to do, was to put that because it has frontage to 105. So, and it's so busy on 105. If you're from that area, you'll see. But the thing is that you can make a claim towards the realtor for selling you something that they said you could do.
Yeah, that's
It's sticky, but it can be done. And they're not supposed to oversell it. It's just supposed to be what it is. We just had a situation with a realtor. We bought a property and they said it had the house in the back, my property on Moore. It said it had the house in the back and you could build a mother-in-law's quarters, or it said you could even build an extra room, right? Meaning the little thing in the back. We did that. Well, it fell over lines. And so with that being said, it all came out okay, but they tried to jug me, at pricing and all that. And no, I keep it for that reason.
yeah.
I keep it. I'm not going to just give it away. But so we went over that hurdle. So there's a lot of things, guys. Contracts and everything is very important. Very important. And you got to really, really work with the good title company that's going to look through all your stuff, because
Yeah.
it takes time to get these things, clear.
Yeah, it does. It
Mhm.
does. But it definitely can be done.
Yeah.
So yeah. But yeah, guys, if any of you guys have anybody, family member, a friend, a cousin, or somebody you might know that may be going through a similar situation and don't know how to go about it, you can have them reach out to me. You can, DM me personally or Christina. I don't want to put my number out there because then I have everyone calling. I've done it before. But yeah, if you guys have anybody that you may know that's going through a similar situation, just have them reach out. And like I said, we do free consultation just to kind of guide them and see what's the next step that needs to be done. Same thing with pre-foreclosure. If you have someone that may be behind on payments and don't know how to go about it, we definitely have saved people from, going, and they still get to keep their house.
Yeah.
So, reach out to us. We can definitely, we have a solution to every problem.
Yep. And if you
Yeah.
need any loans, let me know. See what
There
we
you
can
go.
work on. So let me fund you on your next project, right? Anyway, guys, y'all have a happy Wednesday and we will talk to y'all later.